Now let's head across the channel to London. On Saturday the 13th of September, a huge march was assembled with protesters joining from across the UK. The sheer number of people in attendance was, a really big part of the story. So estimates by the police and the media put the crowds at somewhere between 110,000 and 150,000 people. This made it one of the largest far-right gatherings in recent UK history. And just for a bit of comparison, more recent protests of the far right have only garnered as much as sort of 10,000 people. The striking thing was the number of arrests. So a minister stated that the minority who attacked police would pay a price, but the number of arrests at the time of recording stands at around 26 people. This is a stark contrast to other recent protests. For example, a Palestine Action protest recently saw nearly 900 arrests, with a large number of people being held for a specific offence under the Terrorism Act. Critics have accused the Metropolitan Police of a two-tier policing approach, highlighting that far fewer officers were deployed at the Unite the Kingdom march, despite violence being widely predicted. Now let's talk about the key people behind the march. While it was publicly fronted by far-right activist Tommy Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, who was also one of the main speakers, the event attracted a range of figures. Other speakers included the controversial media personality Katie Hopkins, and notably a former French presidential candidate and far-right politician Eric Zemmour. What needs to be considered here is the deeper sort of political and social meanings behind the march.
Welcome to Shadow and Light, where poetry holds the line when history threatens to march once more. I'm Kiari Page. This episode is titled The Street That Spoke, a journey into East London, 1936, when ordinary people raised barricades against Oswald Mosley's black shirts. This was the Battle of Cable Street, and though nearly a century has passed, it echoed threads through our present. Reform UK. The rhetoric of borders and evasions, the global tide of fear and division, we return to Cable Street, not to linger in nostalgia, but to ask what it means to stand when the march of hate begins again. The street that remembers. A street is never just cobblestones. It carries footsteps, voices pressed into the brickwork, banners painted in haste and hope. Cable Street remembers. The old women with rolling pins, the doctors with fists raised, the chants in Yiddish, in Irish, in English. They shall not pass. And the silence after. A silence that waits, listening for the next march of boots. They came in black shirts and polished boots, but the people came with numbers, and the street itself became a witness. Cable Street, the barricade witness. For the people of East London, 1936. They said the East End was theirs to march through, as if the homes of Jewish families were a stage for their spectacle of hate. But the people filled the alleys. They overturned carts, dragged furniture into the road. Women hurled flour and refused from windows. Dockers locked arms with immigrants. They shall not pass was not just a chant. It was a covenant. And when the police lines cracked, when Mosley turned his men away, the street itself declared, not here, not today, not ever. The barricades fell, but the memory remains. A witness pressed into stone, and still the boots march elsewhere. Today's echo, the border witnesses. For those targeted by today's far-right rhetoric. The language has changed, but the hunger is the same. It speaks of invasions on dinghies, of borders that must harden, of neighbors turning into strangers. Nigel Farage was his Reform UK chorus, a symphony of fear rising in parliaments and plazas. From London to Rome, from Washington to Delhi, each speech builds a barricade of its own, not of wood and iron, but of suspicion, of walls that divide heart from heart, and yet the witness of Cable Street whispers, when hate marches, the street can speak. Ordinary voices can thunder louder than polished lies. The question is not if hate will march again. It already has. The question is, who will stand in the street? Global witnesses for the barricades yet to be built. In Brazil, in Hungary, in France, the far right sharpens its teeth. In America, Trump rallies crowds with walls and slogans, a showman cloaked in grievance. In Italy, in India, in parliaments across the world, new strongmen echo old lies. And in Britain, Reform UK gathers under Nigel Farage's banner, speaking of invasions, testing the ground with each broadcast, each vote. But the witnesses multiply. The refugee turned back at sea, the child caught in detention, the neighbor branded stranger overnight. They ask us, who are we when the march begins again? Will we lift our voices? Will the streets remember that solidarity is stronger than fear? The street still speaks. A barricade in 1936, a slogan that still burns. Different boots, different borders, but the same shadow falls. And yet, the same light rises, because every time we remember, every time we speak, the street itself awakens, and it whispers, they did not pass, they did not pass, they did not pass. And if we stand again, they never will. The right to stand together. The Battle of Cable Street was not just history, it was a warning. And it was a promise. A warning that the march of hate never truly ends. A promise that ordinary people, linked arm in arm, can stop it in its tracks. The voices of Cable Street still speak. Reform, Farage, Trump, or any other banner of fear. The question is, will we hold the line? This is Shadow and Light. I'm Kiari Page. May memory guide us, and may we never forget that the street can speak again.